When the Beatles finally went their separate ways, John Lennon, Paul McCartney, and Ringo Starr all seemed somewhat lost during the first years of their solo paths. George Harrison, however, stood out as the one who appeared to flourish, especially when it came to artistic decisions and his musical trajectory. One likely reason for Harrison's early momentum was the freedom he gained by no longer having to negotiate with his bandmates over what kind of material he could bring forward. Without opposition, he could fully embrace the spiritual themes that interested him, as he did with his 1970 composition, Hear Me, Lord. The Beatles' final period together was far from harmonious, marked by tension and dissatisfaction in their personal interactions. A striking example unfolded in January 1969, when Harrison clashed with McCartney during the filming of a documentary about the band's new project. Earlier that very day, Harrison had tried to pitch Hear Me, Lord to the group, but, like many of his songs from that era, the others showed little enthusiasm. With no chance of it being recorded by the band, he set it aside with his growing collection of unused material. That archive would later explode onto the world stage with the release of his monumental triple album, All Things Must Pass, in 1970. On that record, producer Phil Spector applied his signature grand style to Hear Me, Lord. He layered the track with an array of musicians, featuring multiple guitarists, bassists, keyboardists, and horn players, while also enhancing Harrison's presence through multi-tracked vocals. The result was a dense, powerful arrangement. Yet, despite Spector's elaborate production, what truly gives the song its impact is Harrison's unmistakable intensity and sincerity. While he had hinted at spirituality in some of his Beatles contributions, never before had he expressed it so openly. Free from any constraints, he crafted Hear Me, Lord as a direct dialogue with a higher power, a piece that effectively serves as the final sung statement on All Things Must Pass. The song functions as an unguarded prayer, though infused with Harrison's thoughtful lyrical style. He begins by acknowledging his own mistakes, asking forgiveness for the times when he had neglected his faith. He then broadens his perspective, noting how others treat devotion to God as if it were a burden or an obligation too costly to bear, and he asks for understanding on their behalf as well. At another point, he expresses a wish to transcend the distractions of worldly dealings, possibly a subtle reflection on the endless business entanglements that had often disrupted the creative unity of the Beatles. In the middle section, he reassures himself by recalling the ever-present nature of the divine, suggesting confidence that guidance will eventually come. The final verse becomes even more personal. Harrison voices his desire to rise to a higher spiritual plane, a plea that feels both familiar and heartfelt. But then he reveals a deeper struggle, asking for help in overcoming earthly desires and weaknesses. It is a moment of vulnerability that humanizes the lofty prayer. As the track continues, it shifts into an almost meditative repetition of the title phrase, Harrison's voice multiplied into a wall of sound that feels like both mantra and invocation. In this song, unshackled from the expectations of his old band, Harrison embraced his spiritual vision without compromise, delivering one of the most moving and profound pieces of his career.